Hey guys, we're here at LA Comic Con and we're talking with Junepurr, the creator of SubZero, a series on Webtoons. Junepurr, thank you for spending some time with us. So let's start with your series for people who might not be familiar with it. What is SubZero and what inspired you to create it?
So SubZero is the story of a prince and a princess. Both of them have been enemies for a long time, and they both descend from these two dragons in this fantastical world, and their kingdoms have been at war for a long time. So in order to stop this war, they're forced into this political marriage. And there's obviously like a romance element, but at the same time, there's also a fantastical dragon element that lies around in the background. So yeah, that's basically it. It's basically an enemies turned lovers story.
Where did this story come from? Because that, fantasy epics are involved. There's so much world building that goes into it. So where did you get the idea for this?
I think for me, it's always been, I've always loved fantasy, and I watch a lot of historical fantasy dramas, and I love grand stories. So I honestly just wanted to see something like that. So I just put everything that I liked into a story, and that's kind of how it was born. That's kind of how it came to be. I just put everything that I liked in a story for what I would want to read. So that's how it came to be.
Before SubZero, before you had your comic featured on Webtoon, what were you doing? Were you dabbling in fan art and you just decided I'm going all in? What was your world like before SubZero?
So my world before SubZero, I was studying accounting, and which is the furthest thing I'd say from any kind of creative field. And I remember sitting in this one internship and just sitting in this cubicle, and I just suffering because I felt like this isn't what I was meant to do. This isn't what I was meant to, I wanted to create stories all the time. So in the times that I was bored, I would always just think up stories. And I think one day I just decided like it's time to do this, or else I'm going to be looking at spreadsheets for the rest of my life. So one day I just decided, I just posted it, and I didn't expect it to kind of grow. I told myself I just wanted to improve my art. And from there on, I was just really surprised to see how much people enjoyed it, and their support just fueled me to keep going to the point where now I'm doing this full time, and I don't have to look back on that life anymore. So that's basically it.
Where did you, when you originally posted it, did you post that on Webtoon, or were you starting your own like blog at first? What was that journey like?
I was reading Webtoon beforehand, so I wanted to post it on Webtoon, but I also posted it on anywhere you can imagine, Instagram, DeviantArt, Tumblr, Twitter. I was trying to bring people in just to see my stuff, so I was really happy to see, and I think that's the idea. Like when you first put your stuff out, you need to promote yourself, and it worked out. Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
So we're here at LA Comic Con. Not your first convention, but you're meeting the fans. What's it been like to actually meet people who've read your work and enjoy it?
It's really awesome because for the majority of the time, I tend to be behind a screen, a piece of glass, and even on the phone, I'll read comments, and I don't put a face to these people who are commenting. So it's really awesome to actually see them all in the audience, and I'm so grateful to actually meet everyone and be able to like see their faces. Because, I'm sure even for them, like they don't imagine there's somebody behind the screen as well, but it's really, really awesome to be, these are actual humans, and, some of them will come up to me and they're like, oh, your comic helps me get through so much, and I think that's why I do it. I just love seeing my comic make people happy, and it fuels me to just keep going, so it's been awesome. It's been really great. Now,
your art has some it's visually amazing with the characters and everything like that. Have you had any people cosplay your characters yet?
I've seen a lot of cosplays on Instagram, so I've seen a lot of really cool, awesome cosplays. I've met a couple of people who did cosplay my characters, and I was so blown away. I think there's some pictures online, but it's really awesome to stand next to them and be like, wow, these are my characters right here. So they're, they're really cute and dedicated, and I'm so grateful for anybody who actually takes the time out of their day to really dress up as them, because I know their outfits are crazy, and I just make them up as I go. So, I'm extremely grateful for everything.
How long of a process was it for you while you were creating these two visualize what your characters actually looked like?
I think it depends per character. Sometimes, and for people who know the original version on Canvas, this was 2 years ago, it's changed pretty drastically from what it used to be. Some things remain the same. Some of these characters are 10, 12 years old, and over that time, I just changed them to, I don't know, make them more modern, or I changed different aspects of them. But I think, in general, it really varies per character. Some characters I come up with on the spot. I designed them on the comic right then and there, and other characters, they've been around since 10 years ago. So I've always kind of known in my head what they were supposed to look like, So yeah.
For people who look at what you're doing and look at Webtoon and they're like, I've got some ideas, I just want to get them out there. A, what advice would you give them? And B, how has the community, especially the Webtoon community, because you are a member of this family here, how have they responded to you, treated you, and how would you recommend someone who's interested approach getting into creating their own webcomic?
So you're right. I do feel like I am part of a family here. Everybody's been so welcoming, and just the fans and everything. And truthfully, right now I'm living my dream job. So it's absolutely amazing. I think for anybody who is interested, the hardest part of making a webtoon is to just do it. Sit down and just plan it out, work it out. I think it's good to have an ending in mind when you first start the comic. So, you could have the greatest idea on earth, but you don't want to get stuck in the middle. So my best advice is to have an ending and then to just jump right into it and just make it. That's the most difficult part. Because I remember for me, my first update took me 3 months to make, just for one strip. And now, 2 years later, I've gotten so used to it, I can whip out 100 panels in a week, So you get used to it, and you're fueled by seeing the fans' comments and seeing everybody, everybody's so supportive. So it's been really awesome, yeah.
Now, for people who have seen your work and are interested, but they want to follow you, learn more about what you're doing, where can they find your work? And Twitter, Instagram, any of the social medias? Where should they find you?
Yeah. You can find me almost everywhere, Twitter, Instagram. I'm pretty active on both. My handle is June and then Purr, like a cat, with 3 R's at the end. 3, not 2. And that's my handle for almost everything. Patreon, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, So that's my handle if anybody's interested.
Thank you so much for spending some time with us, guys. Junepurr, check out SubZero. And
thank you guys so much for everything. I wouldn't be here without you guys.
Great. Thank you so much.